people that are passionate about their dream. Don't listen to those naysayers. Forge out there and be determined. Use your passion and your good sense and to make decisions. And it's not always going to be what you think it should be.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Behind Their Success podcast. I'm Peyton Squires, the host, and today we have on Dr. Sandy Breece. 33 years ago, she was a teacher and a mother of a middle schooler. She made it her goal to start a school that would address the individual needs of her son and students who were like her. Now she's an author and writes about how courage, compassion, and collaboration can help schools and communities grow. Dr. Sandy Breece, welcome on the show.
Thank you very much. Glad to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. So give us a little bit about your background.
Well, if I take it back to 33 years ago, I was teaching, tried and true kindergarten teacher, and did that for a long time. And then the school system that I was with was wonderful. I liked it, but it was overcrowded.
Yeah.
Too many students in any one classroom that you could pick was too many students. And I knew that there was a better way, not only with class size, but with individualization of treating each student individually rather than putting them all in the same box called a classroom and teaching them all the same way at the same time. So I made it my dream to maybe I could find a way. My son was a kinesthetic learner and he learned with his hands. And so he and other students that are like that get lost in classrooms that are set up for visual and a few auditory learners. So I knew that was the problem. I was going to have figured something out. I never dreamed it would be starting in school at that time. So I spent way too long thinking about it. A total of 3 years, wasted time. I should have started right away. In hindsight, I can say that now.
Yeah.
So yeah, I finally started. And the first thing I ran into that I want to put out there to anybody that's thinking about starting a school is don't listen to those naysayers.
A lot of them, I bet.
Yeah. There's a ton of them. They're all waiting out there to tell you what's wrong with your idea. And so, because I went to my friends when I finally made the decision to do it, to just start a school, and shared it with teachers and colleagues and people that I knew that I thought would be supporting. And to my surprise, they weren't supporting. Like, what? That's not going to work.
Yeah, and they just, they can't see your dream. They don't.
That's right. So that's my first words of advice is your determination and your passion all needs to shine through and to just not listen to those folks and follow your heart, follow your dream, and don't give up. Never give up.
Yeah, that's great. So you pushed through and tell us the school you established there and how that kind of went.
It started out small. I put a tiny little ad in the newspaper, the old fashioned way, a classified ad without my name because I was still teaching kindergarten for the school.
Yeah.
So I certainly didn't want to divulge it too soon what was happening here. And I built a small community of 9 students, only 9, the bottom floor of my 2-story duplex.
Nice.
And I started in that one little room and we grew and we grew. And we started with middle school and pretty soon we were all kindergarten through 12th grade. And that's what we are today. And I added a preschool 5 years ago. And now we've got the full complex from age 3 to graduating seniors in high school.
Wow. That's a heck of an accomplishment.
9 students to 315. That's what we got.
That's wild. And, I don't pretend to be like an expert on the education system and whatnot, but I have 3 small children, and this is the kind of stuff me and my wife think about too. And what's the most appropriate thing? And these big public education systems, and it's not like any of the people in them are bad or have bad intentions. It's just the system itself is not necessarily designed for any type of individual needs because they're trying to fix problems across the whole population, and that's not going to necessarily address.
For sure. You're absolutely right.
So to, dive in a little bit, you've written a chapter in the books. Give us a little more color to what a chapter in the book looks like or what it's.
Sure. One thing I talk about is being flexible is important because if you go in with your dream in mind, sometimes it's so cast in stone, you don't have any wiggle room. The very first year that we incorporated as a nonprofit and moved forward as a private school. My difficulty was I had to change the name of the school in the second year. I called it in the beginning hands-on learning because it was all about kinesthetic learners.
Yeah.
And those flying students were kids that learned with their hands, with projects. And it was a learning environment that was a lot of activity. And it definitely wasn't in tune with what a visual or an auditory learner would need in those modalities. So I started out with that mindset, but I had with just into the beginning of the second year, I had visual learners and auditory learner parents coming to me
Mm.
that wanted their kids in my school.
Yeah.
And that was my first problem with flexibility. So that's my advice to them is to be flexible. So I had a dad of one of my kindergarten parents called me up. He had his daughter in my school, and called me up. He says, "I've got the perfect name for this school." And I said, "Really?" And he says, "Yes, yes, call it Telesis." And I went, "Telesis? What does that mean?" He says, "Oh, I don't know. It's doing good things and making good and having things turn out good." He didn't seem to know. So I said, "Well, let me think about it for a while, will you?" And he said, "Sure." So we hung up. And the first thing I did is I went to the dictionary, the old fashioned
Google it.
style, and I looked it up and I saw right away that he was pronouncing telesis incorrectly. It is a word. It's in the dictionary. It's in the dictionary today. You'll find it there with a lowercase t, and it means planned progress, moving forward,
Mhm.
succeeding, completing. The more I thought about it, the more I liked it. The more I thought about it, the more flexible I became. And that's when I changed the name to Telesis Preparatory Academy. I'm so happy that it's
Yeah.
still working out so well. It's, I mean, and if I hadn't been flexible, it would have stopped right there with the kinesthetic learners
Mhm.
and no more. So that would be one of the things too. Be flexible.
Yeah, yeah, and 100%. It's very good to have goals that are very specific and very, clear going into the future. But I'm a guy that, does a lot of goal planning and stuff like that. But like, in my opinion, you can't really plan past like 90 days. Like the world changes so fast and everything can do one thing, So, everything's moving all the time. And that being able to be flexible, knowing that, okay, I have my big North Star of goal that I'm going after, like you, is growing this awesome community and growing this awesome school. But you're not going to know the entire path before you start walking down that. Be able to pivot is crucial as well.
And that's really where I landed on the idea of consulting because helping other people with their passion. I've been through all those bumps and grinds and ups, downs, and I've been through all that, and I didn't have anybody to talk to. I did, not even my good friends thought thought it was a zany, crazy idea. It was really being flexible and being determined and passionate about my dream and not giving up.
I imagine the huge part of the success there, or why it continued it, or you didn't quit, was the kind of community you built in the beginning.
Right.
All the support and everything that come from that initial community. Once you had that, it was just, really a matter of time. You guys were going to keep pushing through. Sandy, looking back on your journey through all that, the ups and downs, the struggles and stuff, what would you say was like the best decision you made through all that?
The best decision I made? Well, it was definitely never giving up and not listening to those naysayers. But I made one decision the third year. I needed a science teacher. We were getting ready to start add high school to our program, and I needed a science teacher. And the teacher shortage was raging. It's worse now, but it was really bad then. And I thought, oh my goodness, well, how am I going to find a science teacher to move here and then really stay with us? And so I looked and I looked. I went to job fairs and I wasn't having any luck. And a member of my community, not a teacher, but a member of my community, a parent, said, why don't you see if you can get an agency, a shopping, looking for teachers and marketing teachers. So I contacted a teacher agency and they sent me a CD of interviews of teachers they had interviewed in India. And I never dreamed anything about that. I thought, oh my gosh, talk about, I didn't even ask any of the naysayers because I knew I'd get lots of that. So
They
I,
would have told you five
yeah,
different reasons why it didn't work.
that's
Um, and
right. So I interviewed her over a scratchy international telephone line in those days. We didn't have cell phones, so no, it was horrible. She told me later she couldn't hear me either, and I hired her on the spot. She was
Nice.
she had a great command of the English language, and she was just kind and she's just wonderful. And now she's been with us for 21 years. I hired her right over the line, and we sent her a contract immediately. She arrived in her sari and all of her attire that she would wear every day in India, and trained my staff to say the words, "Welcome to America, welcome to Telesis" in Hindi. And we said that to her on her first day there, and she started to cry. Yeah, we really, and now she's my instructional analysis director, my dean of students, and our program couldn't operate any better without her. She's fantastic.
Yeah, and it's true. If you would have told anybody, especially whatever this was, what do you say, 21 years ago? Hey, I'm
Yes.
going to hire somebody from India and bring them over here. Yeah,
Oh,
I mean, there's no way.
and if a community member hadn't suggested the talent agency for me to look for a teacher, I would have never gone that direction either.
Yeah,
So it's our community push to make it happen. So power of community is really an important part to me. That book
yeah,
is important.
yeah, absolutely. So looking back to the beginning, 21 years ago, or I guess whenever this started, what
30,
is
33 years.
33? Yes, that's right,
Oh,
33 years
like almost 34.
ago. So
Yeah.
looking back 34 years ago, if you could give yourself one piece of advice from your perspective today, what would it be?
Never give up.
Never.
Because if you don't have that passion and determination set firmly from the very beginning and capitalize on that and use it often and be the collaboration and the flexibility to talk to the community and handpick the people that you tell, handpick the people that you share it with. Because if you try to tell the world like I did at first, you will be so disappointed.
A lot of bad feedback. Oh, sure.
That's right. And because people, even if they really like and love you, they're going to want to protect you. So they're going to try and give you an answer. And they haven't done it. They haven't walked that in those footprints that I was making. So, it would be impossible for them to share an opinion that was move forward, go ahead. It would be like, to them, it would seem like jumping off a cliff. I'm not blaming them. I'm just telling the people that are passionate about their dream and their dream school to don't listen to those naysayers. Forge out there and be determined. Use your passion and your good sense and to make decisions. And it's not always going to be what you think it should be. You might have to, like I did with the teacher that I hired from India that is now my dean of students and instructional analysis director, crunching all the numbers. I would have never had that happen. Had I been inflexible and determined to do it my way and not or the highway, right?
Yeah. That's great. That's great. Great piece of advice. Yeah. So Sandy, great conversation here. I appreciate you, coming on the show.
Sure.
What's the best way people can connect with you or get to know more about you?
I have a website that is great. It's called School Founders Academy. So all they have to do is Google that, School Founders Academy, and it should come up. I'm also available by phone. They can reach me with contact information. You want me to give that number now?
Sure.
Is that what it is? Area code 928-706-8663. 928-706-8663. They can call me and leave a message if I don't answer right away, and I'll call them right back. So it's all good. And the website is really full of information. They'll learn a whole bunch about me, about my business, and how I want to help them.
Well, Sandy, I appreciate you very much for coming on the show.
Thank you very much, Peyton. I'm glad to meet you, and I look forward to working with you in the future.
Thank you so much for listening to the podcast. If you found it valuable, please rate, review, and share it. That is the best way to help us build this and reach more people, as we're trying to accomplish our goal of help creating more healthy, wealthy, and wise entrepreneurs. You can follow us on social media by searching for me, Peyton Squires, or going to PeytonSquires.com. On the website and social media, we're always sharing tips of personal growth, and there we can actually interact. I'm looking forward to it. Thanks, guys.